Hi guys, it's me, Trudy Lee. How's everybody doing? It is Sunday afternoon, August 18th. My goodness. August is almost finished and over with. Thank goodness, you guys, because it's been terribly, terribly hot here. We're going through a streak of, 100, 102, 103. It's just going to summer's going to go out like a lion, I guess. So hopefully you guys are experiencing a little bit cooler weather. I can say we're not. But today I wanted to do something a little bit different. And I decided what I would do is do a deep dive on Donald Trump and just ask my higher self to go fetch Donald Trump's higher self and have a chat with him and see what's going on with him. And it was a lot of fun. So I did that earlier before I'm recording, and the way that I did it was I asked questions and I've written down the answers that Donald Trump has said. So the first thing that I wanted to ask Donald Trump was, does he think he's going to go to jail? That's what I want to know. Do you think you're going to go to jail? That's what I asked him. And this is what I got back from him. The first thing that he said was, I no longer will put myself in harm's way. So what does that mean? I don't understand that. What does that mean? And he says, I won't suffer for anybody. So I go back. Will you be at the courthouse on September 18th for your sentencing? And he says, you know that I don't want to be there, and my attorneys are working on it. But he says, I may not have a choice. So my next question is, what will you do if you're sentenced to jail? Will you go to jail? Is that what's going to happen? If they say report to jail, are you going to report, basically? And he says like this, look, I hope it doesn't come down to that, because I know the Supreme Court will not put me in jail. I say, well, what if you're ordered to report to jail? What if it comes down to that? Are you going to show up? Or will you try to leave the country? And he says to me, where am I going to go? He says, if I leave, there'll be 2 fighter jets escorting my plane, There's nowhere for me to hide. So my next question would be, well, would you leave if you could leave? Would you do that? And he says, I'm not going to be chased away. So you'll go to jail. If you're ordered to go to jail, you'll go to jail. I don't want to get too excited here, but and this is what he says, though. He says, yeah, and my people will take to the streets. My people will be in the streets. And I'm saying, well, do you want there to be violence and chaos just because you're being put in jail? And he says, it's not what I want. It's what the people want. And I said, but you can call for peace. You can say, I'm going to jail, please, let's do this peacefully. Will you do that? And his reply was, no. I hope the cities will be at war and be destroyed. I just see like chaos, chaos, chaos. So I asked him, don't you care about the people that have supported you? They could lose their lives. They could go to jail too. It could totally put everybody at risk. And he says, every man's got to do Whatever they feel they should do, it's up to them. If, they want to go protest that, you know, I'm being sabotaged by the corrupt DOJ, then that's their right. Who am I to tell them not to? So, yeah, there's that. So my next question, I just leave that at that, that we know how he feels about that. So my next question was about Melania, about her not being at his side during the rallies, So I asked him, why hasn't Melania been, to the rallies? Why isn't she appearing at your side? And he says, honestly, she doesn't like hearing the same speech over and over. She gets impatient, hearing the same thing over and over and over. And then she gets annoyed and she looks annoyed. And then people start talking about her, They talk about her and she becomes a target because, she's heard the same thing over and over. And how many times can you hear something without showing your reaction to it? So he's kind of giving her an out here. He says she would really rather not be a part of it at this point. So I asked him, does Melania want to go back to the White House? Does she want to be First Lady? Does she want you to be president? Does she want to do that again? And he tells me, well, that's a loaded question. And she never stands in my way. When I want to do something, she doesn't stand in my way. She doesn't tell me, no, you can't do this or you can't do that. And she'll be at my side when it's needed. When it's very important, she'll be there. So rallies aren't really important. And I'm fine with her not being there at the rallies. So, yeah, I guess they have an arrangement. My next question to Trump was about Biden. Do you wish that Biden had stayed in the race? And he says, I do miss Sleepy Joe Biden. He was an easy target. All I had to do was wait for him to fall over when he's walking or riding a bike. Yeah. So he doesn't think a whole lot about it. He thought Biden was easy, that he could win easily, that he didn't really have to do anything except for just attack him for being old. That's what I'm getting. That's my input from it. My next question is about Kamala Harris. Do you think that Kamala Harris is going to beat you? And he says, well, she is doing pretty good. And how do you feel about that? I ask him. And he says, at least I'm not getting beat by a senile old man. Well, there's that. And he says, she's got a lot of energy, and if Biden had stayed in the race, I would have definitely beat him. So I asked him, do you like Kamala? And he says, why would I like somebody that's attacking me every day? I said, okay, so do you respect her? And he says, I would say she's doing a good job, but I don't like it. So that's as closest to respect that I think he's going to give. So my next question was about Tim Walz. So I asked him about, him praising Tim Walz. So at one time, Donald Trump praised Tim Walz for his handling of the rioting after George Floyd's murder. He called him up, made that phone call, and he said he was doing a really good job. So, at one time he praised him. So, do you think, I'm asking him, do you think that Tim Walz is going to make a good vice president? And he says, well, it's not that hard of a job. And if Kamala can do it, then he can probably do it too. And he added, well, he'll be good for Democrats, but that's less than a half of this country. The next thing I asked him is if he regrets picking J.D. Vance as his vice president. And he says, I picked him because he's aggressive and tenacious. He's like a little bulldog. He doesn't let anyone run him over. He can handle, those reporters during interviews. He can shut them up. And I say, well, what about all those nasty remarks that he's made about you, all those things that he said about you, compared you to Hitler? He said he was a never Trumper. I mean, there's so many things that all these clips that they're playing now that J.D. Vance has said about you. And he said, so that just goes to show everyone how wrong of an opinion that they had of me. He had the wrong opinion of me. You could have the wrong opinion of me too. So that just goes to show everyone your opinion can change, just like J.D. Vance's opinion changed. So if someone like J.D. can change their mind, so can a lot of other people. Like he's the poster boy. I thought Trump was no good and he turned out great, basically. He's a great example for my campaign. So, yeah, that is, they knew exactly who they were picking for vice president. And he's a bulldog. He really is. So they really needed somebody scrappy, somebody, and this is my input. This isn't Trump's. This is just mine. That basically they don't stick to their principles, that they change and they go with whatever they need to go with to stay in power, basically. So if somebody like J.D. Vance can say all these things about Trump and then change his mind, well then, evidently he's willing to sell his soul to the devil to be in power. And they recognize that. So, that's why they decided to go with J.D. Vance. That's my input, you guys, not Trump's. So the last question that I had for Trump is, do you think you'll win this election? And he said, if it was fair and honest, I would win. So, in his mind, no matter what, he thinks everybody loves him and wants him to be president, and that the only reason he would not become president was because of something nefarious went on, like a stolen election or something. It's just implanted in his brain. That's what he believes, He's got such a huge ego. He really, really does. He's got a huge ego, and that's really, truly what he believes. But, yeah. Thank goodness it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen at all. It really isn't. So we don't have to worry about it. But it's interesting to hear how he thinks and what's going on in his mind. And, I had read on him a few times, and I said, I feel like he's thinking about leaving the country. Now, just because he says, I don't have anywhere to go, there's eyes on me, they'll follow me wherever I go, is this all true? That's truth. That's the truth. That doesn't mean he's not thinking about it. He probably has thought about it, and that's why he came up with that answer, because he's thought about it. If I leave, They'll know where I'm going. They'll follow me, and he'll never be safe, if he could even leave the country, which I heard that he's already given up his passport anyway. But any country that would take him in wouldn't be looking for a passport, He would just be leaving. But yeah, he could do a flight plan to another state and then fly out of the country to another country, and he would need a passport for it, right? Because if he was leaving the country, you don't need your passport anymore. But I think he's definitely thought that through and realized that's not really going to work out well. Not really. I think he really thinks he has a better chance with the Supreme Court than leaving the country and going somewhere else. I think he's investing in his attorneys and the Supreme Court more than anything. But he has thought about it, definitely. Okay, guys, so that's all I have for y'all this Sunday. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope everybody's doing well. I think I'm completely over COVID, finally. This went on for over 2 weeks, you guys. I can't believe it. There's a lot of people that I've heard, like 2 other different viruses that are going on. I don't know what they are, but there's people that are having all kinds of breathing problems and different kinds of viruses, and they're not the flu and they're not COVID. It's something else. So y'all stay healthy, stay vigilant. If you're going to travel, wear a mask. If you're going to get on an airplane and you're going to be breathing everybody else's air, wear a mask. Protect yourself. We used to say protect other people, but protect yourself. That really, really will help you a lot. And keep washing your hands and sanitizing your grocery cart when you go shopping. I am being vigilant now. I don't want to get sick. So there's a friend of mine that I met doing readings. I love her, Raina. Hi. And she had COVID just a couple weeks ago, and she's traveled, and she's come home, and she has COVID again. Now, she may not have acute symptoms, but it looks like you can get it back to back. So there's a lot of different strains out there of COVID, and you might not be as sick as you were the first time, but you can still get it again, and you might not be so sick with it, but you could pass it to somebody, an elderly person or a very young person that could make them very, very sick. So we all have to be careful, even though we're not being told constantly by our government or by our city officials to be vigilant. We still need to be vigilant because we haven't even gone through the winter yet. This is just summer. Can you imagine how it's going to be when we're all in the heat, with heat on and enclosed in places? Yeah, we have to be vigilant. So y'all take care of yourselves, okay? All right. I'm going to let you go. Have a wonderful Sunday. God bless you guys. If you'd like to get a reading with me, please look down below. I'll leave my email. If you need a healing session, if you're sick, if you're going through some things, or if you have a family member or friend that needs a healing session, I do free healing sessions every day, and I would be happy to include your loved one. If you need a longer session, let me know. I'm open to to do that also. Chakra balancing, energy cleanse for your home, your office, whatever you need. Look me up, okay? All right, guys, do something kind for somebody. It'll always come back to you. And bye for now. Take care.